Hello world! In this video I'm going to show you how I start seeds for my garden. I know with the lights it's hard to see my face, so I'm probably going to do most of this off camera. But I just wanted to show you how I start seeds. I do it on a really large scale, but a lot of what I'm going to talk about is applicable to much smaller scale home gardeners. I'm just a home gardener, but I'm crazy. So I'm going to start you off with showing you that it really doesn't require a lot of high-tech equipment to start seeds. I know it kind of looks like a lot, but I just have some Utilitech shop lights that I picked up from Lowe's. They're hanging on these ratchet straps that go up and down really easily. You know, pretty simple. Ratchet down, ratchet back up. And I think the first thing I want to talk about is the bulbs. I use fluorescent lights, obviously, and I like to use a mixture of bulbs. I think now it's much easier to find things like grow light bulbs, they call them now. And you can get nice shop lights setups, fluorescent light setups at a grow store or on the internet, Amazon, whatever, from companies like Hydrofarm. But this is really all you need. I think these lights were about 50 bucks a piece, whereas some of those longer, fancier setups cost a lot more. So I like to use a mixture of bulbs, and each fixture has 4. I like to alternate them. In terms of the light spectrum, I like to use the blue and the red. Blue, you'll learn if you look at the bulbs, will have a Kelvin rating. I like to do around 6500 Kelvin, 6500 K, and then 2700 K, more of a red spectrum, somewhere around there. Doesn't have to be exact. Basically, cool bulbs would be your 6500 and your warm bulbs would be your 2700. If I had to choose just one, because this would be more of a vegetative state, just making leafy matter, I would go with the blue bulb, the 6500K, or shell out for what they call grow bulbs. I think they tend to be 6500. So, you can see the things I have these plants sitting on. Over there on the left are plants I've already started. Here's where I'm going to start a bunch of new plants. With this setup like this, I think I can do 312 plants. I'll probably start like 700 plants or 625 plants or something. The things they're sitting on, I got those from a company called Greenhouse Megastore, greenhousemegastore.com. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, it's just where I got them. They are 2-gallon reservoirs on the bottom with what's called capillary matting on the top. Basically, it soaks water up like a wick from the bottom, which then makes the surface wet and then gets the dirt wet, which keeps the plants watered and you don't have to really stay on top of it. I don't like the water from the top. With delicate plants, it's time consuming, it's a hassle, it's uneven. And when there's just seeds in there, you run the risk of sort of washing the seeds deeper or even into another cell of your plants. I really like these cells. I got these from a system just like this that's smaller, that burpee cells. You can get it from them. It's their plant starting. You can see the bigger holes on the bottom. I find that they do a much better job of wicking up the soil. The problem is they don't sell just that part. However, gardeners.com does sell parts that are similar. I think it's called APC kit or something like that. But the cells are bigger, so and they're expensive too. I think they're like $6 for a cell at 24. I find that these work well enough. Your typical 10-20 cell inserts. I got these from Greenhouse Megastore in bulk as well. But the seed starting kit's like a Jiffy thing at Home Depot or whatever. Those all work fine too. It's just a matter of preference. I don't love Jiffy pots because they stay so wet and the soil is kind of dense, but I have used them before and I still got plenty of plants. So use whatever method you like. Okay, now got the lights, we got the water beds. Let's talk about soil. You want to probably use a seed starting mix. Here's one bag from Jiffy brand, natural and organic seed starting mix. I really like this, however. This company, Wonder Soil. If you can see that, it's expand and plant block. You get quite a bit. I've filled up a whole like 30-gallon garbage can, and the stuff is really light and airy. It's a cocoa. It's got some corn or worm castings in there, and not much else. I can't forget what else, but not a lot. It does have enough material in there. It expands to 2.5 cubic feet. That's a lot, and it's cheap. It's like 12 bucks. It isn't technically organic. For those of you who want to be organic, you want to look for something that says OMRI certified. But I try to be sort of close to organic. I do the best I can, but I'm not 100% organic, and I'm okay with that. So it's expensive, and honestly, if you can't find that kind of stuff, any sort of potting soil will do. Miracle Grow, whatever you can find at your garden store. But these days, your big box store, you should be able to find a seed starting mix. So let's see. I'm not going to have a chance to plant tonight. It's getting late. I'm going to have to do it tomorrow. But the next thing I want to say is that... Oh, okay. 2 more things. Setup. You want to have fans. Cheap fans are fine. Oscillating if possible, also not important. Not crazy strong. But why, do you ask? Do you need fans? I always have mine running right here, and the point is to make your plants stronger. They need some movement to strengthen up their stems, or they'll be weak and it'll be easier to break. So you want to have a fan. The other thing that I use on this sort of scale is an oil-filled radiator heater. For your smaller setups, they sell these heat mats that go underneath of the trays, but you want it to be warm. Seeds germinate best when it's warm. So heat is good. Light, the other thing I would say is your windowsill really isn't going to do the trick. If you're in a warmer climate, you could put it on your porch or something, but sitting in your windowsill is just not going to be enough light. You're going to want to supplement somehow. Like I said, but these shop lights are not expensive and are totally worth it. You can't use an incandescent bulb, but you could use a compact fluorescent lights in a desk lamp if you really wanted. Point a couple at it. It's better than nothing if you're stuck putting it in the windowsill. Add as much light as you can. And you really want to set it up to be 24 hours. I leave it on 24 hours because I try to get the maximum growth that I can. Plants, they don't really need a rest. But if you don't want it on during night, I would say set it up to be with a timer for at least 16 hours on. And then you can leave it dark, set it up so the lights go off when it's dark outside, and then it won't bother you when you're sleeping. Let's see. Everything else is gonna be stuff that I cover when I actually plant, I think. So I'm gonna come back and cover all of that. So I'll see you tomorrow with actually planting this stuff. Okay, it's the next day and I have some time to plant now, so I'm gonna go ahead and share the rest of my little seed starting tips. And the first thing is, you can see the dirt is in there now, and especially with these really light seed starting mixes, the smartest thing you can do is get it wet before you put it in the containers, into these cells. And the reason is, I don't know why, but you would think dirt would soak up water really well, but for some reason it's practically hydrophobic when you try and pour water into it in these cells. It's so hard to get it to take on water that you're going to end up making a huge mess, pouring water all over the place. In a wicking system like this, it doesn't really want to soak it up. So getting it wet before you put in really kind of primes the system. It'll stay wet if you do it that way, but if you don't, if you put it in dry, it'll never get wet. Don't ask me why, but that is something important to remember. Let's see. Next thing, plant labels. I got these on eBay. They're really important just to remember what's what, and they're dirt cheap. I got a bunch on eBay. I'm sure you can find them. You could use anything. You don't have to buy them. You could use popsicle sticks if you eat a lot during the year, whatever. My girlfriend even made me some really cool ones with clay. Like this one here for, you know, if it would focus, you can see she stamped lettuce into it. And the thing there is just remembering what the heck you're growing, because if you're not really familiar with gardening, you won't know one plant from the next. At this point, I've been doing this for a lot of years. I can usually tell what's what, even if I don't know, or at least narrow it down to, is it a flower or a vegetable? Another nice tool is a garden marker. Regular Sharpies and whatnot like to wash off on your labels. Don't ask me why. I don't know enough about it. Even like the super permanent Sharpies, they always want to wash off. So get a garden marker, get labels, or if you're a nerd like me, you could also use an Excel spreadsheet. That's a really easy way to do it. Okay. So really, there's only a couple of things left. You can use, I'm going to use a paintbrush, the back end of a paintbrush, but you can use pretty much anything to poke a hole. And I would recommend using something besides your finger, because when your fingers get dirty while you're doing this, it's hard to tell what's a seed and what's not a seed in your hand. And people sell devices, little suction cups. You know, go to any like mega gardening website like Gardeners. You can see all the cool little tools. Even on this scale, I don't really find them all that necessary. I don't use anything like that in terms of picking up one tiny seed at a time, which can be a pain. But first thing I'm going to plant, and I'm not going to run you through everything, are these jalapeno peppers. Basically, I think the rule for seeds would be, the smaller the seed, the shallower you need to plant them. Or sometimes, like these jalapenos, the more tropical, the shallower you need to plant them. I think these call for just barely planting them in the soil. So you really want to follow the instructions on depth, but you know, if you can't find any instructions, if it's small, plant it shallow. If it's big, plant it a little deeper. Probably nothing more than an inch, unless you really find something calling for it being super deep. And if it says direct sow, it's usually a good idea. I mean, you can transplant if you want some things. I mean, you could transplant a bush bean, a green bean plant, but it's a heck of a lot easier to direct sow it. And speaking of I'm going to go ahead and plant these, and I'm going to come back at the very end with a little tip for bean plants. But it's really simple planting at this point. The one thing I will add is if you have enough seeds, more than you need, it's a heck of a lot smarter to plant 2 or 3 in every hole. Like, I only want to plant a row here. So if you plant 2 or 3, it increases the likelihood of not wasting a cell. And I know when you're a beginning gardener, you hate to kill a plant, but you'll find out with some experience that you'd be a lot more frustrated to have a wasted cell where a plant could have started than you would be to have to kill a plant, a little seedling. And this really lets you narrow down, sort of unnatural selection, breeding, not breeding, but, gardening. In terms of the strongest plant, the one with the thickest stem and the healthiest looking plant in general. So it's really the best move, and I'll show you. I'll probably make a video later of me calling these plants, because I'm gonna have, like, hopefully, if I'm doing this right, 300 cells full of plants, and I'm gonna have to cut it down to 1 plant in every cell. And hopefully I'll have lots of nice healthy plants to prove to you that this does work. And let's see. I think that really covers it. So let me stop it here. I'm going to plant the rest of these jalapeno seeds. And then I'll come back really quick at the end with just a little added bonus tip for beans and peas and such. So I'll be back. Okay, last thing with beans and peas and vetch and lentils, any of your nitrogen fixers, I guess, is this stuff, seed inoculants. This one's Guard N, this is Endure. I got them both from Johnny's Selected Seeds. This one's actually OMRI certified, meaning it's organic. If it would focus, it's not important. But anyway, these microbial inoculants do a great job of helping out your beans and such, and peas. Really increase your yields. Here we go. Garden peas, sweet peas, beans, lima beans, soybeans, you name it. I highly recommend these things to really increase your yields. It's worth I think each bag was probably like $8 if you're growing a bunch. Totally worth it. So that's my last tip. I think I've yammered on more than long enough. So thanks for watching, and I'll update in a few weeks with where all these things are at. And hopefully be able to demonstrate thinning out of seedlings. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing. I do a lot on this channel besides just gardening, but especially in the spring you'll see a lot of gardening from me. Do geocaching, food reviews, alcohol reviews, basically anything that interests me, DIY projects, woodworking. So please consider subscribing, leave a comment, tell me anything you'd like me to cover. I've been gardening for a while now. I'm kind of self-taught, and I do a lot of random stuff. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.